button. Okay, we're now streaming on Facebook. Once again, we're sitting here on a round table and we're going to discuss the topic of fear. Fear, in my understanding, is actually the opposite of love. Looks like we're streaming, that's good. So fear and love are opposite polarities of the same spectrum. So love is high vibration and happy and playful and joyful, and fear is a contraction. It's exactly the opposite. Not happy, not joyful, it's kind of like the inversion of love. So I'll introduce our panel here today. So we got smiling Anya up in the, I don't know if it's top left. Oh, she's in the bottom on the Facebook video, and Patrick on the top right there as well. So thank you for joining us, and our wonderful weekly Monday and Thursday delves into reality. So Anya had some stuff that she's had this weekend. I had some stuff this weekend. Patrick's been having some stuff. So it seems to be a real theme for everyone over Easter is purging and resurrection and dying into these fears and these old patterns and coming up with new perspectives so that we can, I don't know what you want to call it, love ourselves, push through those things, start to break down the essence of fear, because fear is control. Fear is feeling we've done something wrong or something bad or any of those energies. So what we're essentially trying to do is shine light into those things, and then we can kind of unravel the fear, because there's elements of control or elements of being out of control that are all behind a lot of these fear items we're going to talk about. So who gets to start first? I can't remember who started first. I think it was Anya. So maybe it's Patrick this time. We want to put you on the hot seat.
Sure.
Cool. On fear, what's been going on for your life? And
on fear, well, just my thoughts on fear are it's part of this thousands of years experiment that we've been on, living under the illusion of separation of source. Source is all love, the separation being feeling so disconnected from prime source or God or whatever you want to call them. Fear and control, it's all been part of it, right? So now we're just kind of going through the process of getting back to being the one love and unified and having everybody unconditionally love and accept each other. I had my family over on this weekend, and they're all old world people. But we all still get along. We respect everything. Like I was out on my deck. We were out on the front deck of my parents' house, me and my stepdad and my grandfather, and it was hot, so I have all these crystal bracelets that I wear all the time, and I had them out laying on the deck in the sun. And usually they always tease or make jokes about all these rocks that I carry with me all the time. And they didn't say anything. They accepted it. That's the weird me now for them. So and it goes both ways. Like when they'll say stuff that I'll kind of see right through, and I want to try and plant a seed or whatever you want to call it, and it's just like I've done that and so much in the past, and all it does is create grief. So it's better to just accept them for who they are, and just enjoy the time.
Mm-hmm. And when you say old world, you don't mean from Europe or the old country. You mean what?
I mean the third density mindset, the control and fear vibration. Like they're all either gotten it or lined up to get their shot because they're afraid of the invisible boogeyman, and they don't understand the path that I've taken about quitting jobs, because now that I have no guaranteed income like I used to with my old job, and it's different for them, right? It's all fear, where I'm all about love and faith and surrender and knowing that everything's going to work out. And as I mentioned, this new apartment that I'm moving into, all these little things that I thought, I would like this or I didn't like that or whatever, and it's all just coming together exactly like I had manifested, right? And that's all just from thought, feeling, and desire. I didn't actually tell them, I want you to do this or I want you to do that. They out of the blue decided that they wanted to do these things and stuff, or had their hand forced because the person in there before them wrecked the apartment. So
okay,
it's all random and coincidence to them, but to me and to us, that's the 5D way of manifesting and creating your reality. So
maybe explain what happened to you, because I don't think the viewers know that. You and I, or Anya and I, do, because you mentioned it. But what happened in your experience? You were supposed to move in today, so what happened?
Oh yeah, I was supposed to move into my new apartment today, and we went over on Friday to check it out, and the tenants before that had wrecked the place. There must have been growing pot or something in the house. There was black mold all through the bathroom. The top front entrance, there was all black mold. The carpets were gross. There was holes in the wall. Like, they just trashed the apartment. And you know, my mom and I sit there and we spent all day Friday trying to clean it up, and they decided after we spent all day cleaning up, and they're like, oh, they're only going to replace this or just try and do this. And then they came home, and then by the next day it had all changed, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to replace this, and this is going to be new. And when she was there, she's like, oh, we're going to replace all this carpet and put out all the laminate flooring. And I just said in passing, so, oh man, I really miss having soft floors walking around too, because all my apartments, they all have wood floors or the laminate stuff. And in the basement, it's cold and it's hard. And so I just said in passing, man, I really miss having soft carpet. And now they're going to end up carpeting most of the apartment, which is amazing. Wow. Right? So... you know, it's
probably cheaper in the long run.
Well, exactly, right, and it's going to be cheaper because it's going to keep the basement warmer. And I did ask them about putting a front door on, because they had removed the actual front door, so all the heat from the apartment would just go up the stairs. And I'm like, well, no, if I got to pay for the heat, I want to keep my apartment shut off so that the heat doesn't all rise up. And they're going to do that for me too. So everything's working out like I wanted to. It's great. It's helping me become a more confident manifester in my life. So it's great.
It's giving you an opportunity for another 5 weeks with your parents and to interaction with you.
Well, exactly. It's giving me 2 more weeks to learn to enjoy, because they have a beautiful spot out on the lake where they're at, and you know, teaching myself tolerance, and just I am seeing an effect that I have on them, because they'll be on one spectrum, and I'll just say some random thing in passing when it comes up, and then like 3 days later that same situation comes up and their answer will be my answer. So they've already changed their tune, so I can see how I'm affecting because we've kind of talked about this a bit offline. When you're in the 5th density mindset, and there's the 3rd density mindset people there, as long as they're open to it, because they're in a follow mode all the time. They're just doing what they're programmed to do. If you're in that creator status and you're out beaming out certain thoughts and feelings from that unconditional love place, they're going to pick it up and then start echoing, following those out too. So it's really great. It's literally how you're changing the world. It doesn't matter if those people are staying in the lower density mindset. If you're staying in the high one and putting out the right things and doing everything from the heart and with pure intention, they're going to go the way you want them to go. To them, that's just what they want to do. They're not putting any deeper thought into it, because it's all coincidence and luck and random happenstance stuff to them.
So can you explain, you kind of walked by it on both sides, but how does fear fit into 3D and how does fear fit into 5th density?
Well, fear doesn't exist in the 5th density. You've replaced fear with love, because as you said, it's the way I see it, it's the same spectrum of emotion, but it's the opposite sides. So you're moving from one side to the other, right? You're letting go of all that fear, and you're having love and faith, and you're just knowing that it's all going to work out. You know, so it's
and
really
3D, how's it different?
Well, in 3D, it's all about fear. It's all about planning and controlling and using your logic mind, and you got to have all these things coming, and if something comes up out of the blue, you don't know what to do, and you can only go based on your ego, which is based on all your past behaviors and how things have worked out before. So
and isn't that how the ego controls us? It basically gets us in a fear mode. I don't know how many people have heard of A Course in Miracles, but A Course in Miracles basically said the world was created by a mad thought. a mad thought was, what if I wasn't part of God and part of the whole? And basically it manifested instantly. And then what created was duality. In that moment, there was this fear that you weren't worthy, you weren't good with God. So it split us into this duality, which is our ego. And the ego wants to hide us and protect us and keep us from serving whatever penance or whatever we did. No, we just made a mad thought. It was a pure and innocent. And now there's a whole race of people that are living in physical bodies in duality because they chose it. And we have to overcome the ego, which is all of our fears that are controlling us and constantly telling us something bad's going to happen. I don't know how many people live in that, but you're constantly protecting yourself, like watching your words, watching how you say things, where you go, how you drive, how you back up, because something bad happened in the past and you don't want it to happen again. Holy shit, I got a ringing in my ears. I must be saying some truth here. But, so that's what part of the 3D experience is transcending all those fears, all those uncertainties, all those, am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I whatever that's been thrown at us over and over and over again to explain why everything didn't work out. Because everything is working out. And those things that we fear are things that have been put into our reality to help us learn and help us evolve and say, okay, make a new choice. I got to have boundaries now. I got to be, think about me first rather than other people. And then all of a sudden, all these things start happening. People get mad and say, oh, geez, you shouldn't be like that or whatever. You're not normal or you're not good. And then fear comes into us. It's like, oh, did I do something wrong? And I'm just that little boy or little girl trying to please mom. And you'll talk about some of this in a minute here, Anya, but that's what it is. Ego is constantly there trying to protect us. Mm-hmm. And just realize when it gets crazy, it's a part of us. And the more we get angry at it and the more we blame and make it be a victim of it, it's a part of us that's inside here, inside our heart, our subconscious, that's constantly trying to protect us based on rationale from past experience that's old the minute you've experienced it, because now you're different. You understand things differently. You're more aware. So any more you wanted to add, Patrick, before we let Anya?
No, I think so. I think that's it.
Beautiful. Floor to you, my dear.
Thank you. Today I was on a walk and there was a hawk flying around, and I don't know if that's common for my suburban neighborhood, but there was a hawk flying around, and then there was a crow that was trying to contend with a hawk. It was just like starting shit with him. And then a second crow like joined in. So it's just like this hawk, like beautifully flying and elevating and soaring, doing its thing, like moving in this beautiful way. And then these two fucking crows with their cawing, just like trying to emulate it. And like, it was like such a perfect illustration in what was happening in my mind, where the hawk was like this love thing, just like soaring, but then like this representation of these crows, just as like the negative side of that duality, the fear, just like coming at you, just trying to disrupt that like flow, that love flow. Mm-hmm. And the thing that makes me uncomfortable with fear when I slip out of the love mindset is like, I'm like, what if it comes true? Like, what if it's just going to come into fruition? Because you know how like things are manifesting so quickly now? Like, so like that is something that like is a reverb in my echo chamber of like fear. So I'm just like freaking myself out. That was what I was doing all weekend. And at the same time, I had in the past an emotional addiction to this train of thinking. So I'm like releasing mad dopamine while I'm like in these patterned thoughts. And then I'm just like watching it.
Was it like an avalanche? I heard in your video, you said a new thought come up, and it was like an avalanche, and you could get stuck in it, or you could stand in your ice axe and say, I'm observing this because this is not fun.
Yeah. And like, it just like, it took me out of the present moment so harshly, especially yesterday. And I'm just like, oh my God, for fuck's sake. So finally I just like, I was just like, yo, spirit guides and angels, I'm giving this to you. I don't want it. Just do something with it because I've tried all day. And the thing is like I'm trying to change matter with a matter rather than I like when I'm in that state, I'll forget to go back into my heart space in my body and to like do those things. And so it's just a circus.
Cool. And how did you dig out?
I dug out with an earthquake
Yeah.
this morning at 4:44 a.m.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when it was jolting, I like checked the time, 4:44. So I was like, okay, well, I think this is something.
Hmm.
And when you said you manifested it because you had a conversation with your parents, go ahead.
We were driving through downtown LA to drop off my nephew, and my dad was just talking and remarking on the high-rise buildings in downtown LA and how it must suck to live on like a top floor when there's an earthquake because you could feel it more. And that's kind of like all we said in passing. And then on our drive back from dropping my nephew off, I was thinking about the Northridge earthquake that happened in 1992. It was just a passing thought. I didn't think anything of it. And then that night, the fucking earth started rattling here.
That was something you lived through as a child, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you remembered it.
Yeah, and as it was happening this early this morning, I was like, not today, Mother Nature. Not today. I'm not getting up for this.
What, are you supposed to go hide in the bathtub or what?
Well, in the Northridge one, we like went outside into the car. I don't know if that was the smartest thing, but that's what we did.
Well, when things are bouncing around, what are you going to do, right?
So
how's that a fear for a Californian? I've never lived down there, so I've never lived under that. How's that a constant pull?
I think it challenges like you have no control, and like that minute will seem like, I don't know, like an hour. And like being in that uncertainty and just like seeing all of your things shake and move, and you're like, what the fuck is going to happen? Like, are we going to be safe? Is our house going to be okay?
And then it finishes, and then an aftershock comes and gives you a spank on the ass.
Yes.
Regular intervals afterwards, right?
Yeah.
To make you wonder if this is going to happen worse now, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. I just had that discussion with my dad. So I'm just like, did we do that?
Were you afraid in the middle of it, or you just kind of slept through it and away you went?
I'm used to them, so I'm just like, whatever.
Cool. Just don't hang anything over your bed, and you won't get.
There's nothing. Yeah, no, nothing is gonna.
The headboards
no
are not safe in California.
Yeah. No, but it was crazy. But the thing that came to me with fear is that it dwindles around, like your dreams, like your dream job or your dream relationship situation, and that's when they really rear their face to me.
Okay, so now let's explore that. So what's underneath? You're now examining past experience, you're comparing it to current experience, and you're expressing a concern that the same thing might happen, is essentially what you're doing.
Yes, it's like a fear of loss. And then and then the ego will come in and then just control the whole program.
Well, it draws some understandings from the past one and tries to do it in a different way, which probably makes you look crazy as hell to the partner. And it actually self-sabotages you in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's big. So in the 5D, you're living in the moment. You're letting stuff happen differently, and you're not really drawing any conclusions from past. You're just opening to possibility and letting the ego. What's your feeling?
The ego is just in the background. It's just chilling. Like there's no really any thoughts that happen like aggressively. It's just it's like just beautiful awareness. And it's just like a flow and a surrendered state.
So what would you say you do with those old outcomes once you've transitioned in that and less fear?
Forgiveness, I guess. I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, in my experience, it's forgiveness, admitting it was there, admitting that
Mhm.
it happened and that it's okay.
Acceptance.
Acceptance, yep.
Yeah.
Accept and allow.
Yeah, because well, I think again, it like freaks me out that I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna manifest this because I'm in this train of negative thinking? And like in my head, I'm like, cancel, cancel, cancel.
Those are good tools, right?
Well, that's why we're spending so much time in the fourth dimension, because things aren't instant. If you
Yes.
were in the fifth dimension, then you would be causing all the shit immediately right away.
Yes.
So we're spending time learning to deal with this, because I have those random thoughts will pop into my head too. Oh, if this doesn't work, what if this doesn't work? And I'm like, oh my God, why? I don't want to create from that. But we can flip the switch consciously now if we choose to, right? Like, it becomes easier.
Yeah. And I'll have words with myself. I'm like, we're not doing this anymore. This is old. You are worthy. And like, I realize that it's always a stem from a lack of self-love coming up.
And you're going to have to go on a hell of a lot more dates to work through all those little crinkly edges, right?
Well, I had a tarot reading and she told me I cleared a lot of my daddy issues. So I'm very proud to hear that.
Somebody validated it for you. It's good. I don't know if anybody else noticed. I just wanted to go there. We're talking about fear and you've got villain on your shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not the villain, but what does it mean to you? Is it a brand of clothes? I don't know. I've never even heard it before.
It's my friend's brand.
Okay.
So cool. It was just, I wore it.
So no villain or fear involved, just the...
That is an interesting observation.
I'm sure she's been the villain in some other people's stories. We all play that role. Get painted with that by other people. So.
Oh yeah. I got to experience that this weekend.
Yes. So. Go on.
Okay, you want to transition? There's this very spiritual woman that I asked to support our Living Your Light. We put out that energetic first aid thing and all this kind of stuff. And in the morning, she was all good. And in the afternoon, she physically said, yes, no problem. And then in the afternoon, she says, I looked at it. I don't like the other people involved in it. And it's not for my people. And I was just like, she couldn't have slapped me in the face harder without any explanation or anything. And I said, okay, I won't send you anything on that again. And then it sat in me for a while and I got really angry. And then I responded to her with exactly what I was feeling. Not angry. I just said, I'm insulted by the fact that you chose to change your mind. And what do you see as the problem with these other people? And I've supported you a lot and published your stuff a lot. And you just basically snubbed me in that one statement. And she didn't even bother to respond. And the next day to just say, I promoted another one of those things. And she says, oh, thank you for sharing my thing, but never responded at all to the original energy. And now she's sniping in these spiritual posts about these people that are gaslighting and causing her to be in her victim. So there's this big reward for both of us, whether or not she's going to accept it or not. She got put in her victim. That shouldn't have triggered her. I'm just asking her to be in integrity about what she said and then be clear about why. Because I'm like, my part of me was like, oh, geez, I'm doing something wrong, or I can't see something in Patrick and Anya that is wrong or whatever that she sees. No, it's her shit. Like she's just wants to protect her community and it's all fine. So I had to look and I was getting angrier and angrier. So I asked a friend and it still doesn't change the integrity violation as far as I'm concerned. So I'm standing with it because it needs to be resolved. But it was about my own self-love. It was like I was looking to be loved by her accepting this thing that I loved. And she chose not to accept it. I don't know what the energy was, but I found I had all these blocks to love still from my mother, from my birth, from my childhood. And they were all fear-based. It was like, okay, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to find the right woman. I'm not going to have a nurturing mommy influence in my life way back in childhood. And it just closed all this stuff off. So I'm constantly protecting myself. And she poked it. I don't know she even poked it, but I accept that. And there's something we're both learning out of this. I don't hate her. I'm not angry at her. I can't participate in that energy right now until she finds it, but that's her choice. I'm not mad at her. I don't want to change her. I just want to have a discussion where it's like, okay, why did you do that? Why did you say that? We got really deep and intimate, and she's interviewed me. Like, I'm not talking intimate sexually, but talking about life and all this kind of stuff. And then when they put a shield up and just say, hey, no, I'm not interested, or this is bad, that's hers. But I'm participating because the energy, we feel each other's energy, and there's something off, and it's not in truth, which creates fear itself, right? It's like, okay, if somebody's not lying to you, or are they sleeping around behind your back? Are they doing something untoward? Well, no, it's their wound or their victim that's playing havoc with them, trying to protect them. And now they've just gone into full on robot mode or statue mode in the way their energy is. And then when somebody pokes, it's like, oh, you're causing me pain. No, that's the best way to work with another person. It's like, hey, you just snubbed me, or you said this thing, and I'd really like to talk about it. And is that okay? Rather than don't even respond, because then there's a trigger and there's other energies behind, and I can't change any of that. I got to accept it. She may not want to talk to me ever again. It's all good. So that's one situation. So I found this self-love piece, and I sat for most of the Sunday with it, and it was nice. I don't fully understand it yet, but it just kind of went through. And then Sunday night, my son's been struggling. He gets these energetic headaches, and they just like he thinks he's having a brain tumor or a massive migraine. And he's done this research, and he's found out that it's this kind of headache, and it's something that could be a brain tumor or whatever. And I work with his energy, and I help him through it, and I clear it, and we talk about opening everything. And then the last time he did it, he basically just said, no, don't help me. He'd get mad every time I'd try and assist him or give him a process or whatever. So finally I just kind of stepped away, and then he did it again last night. He's sitting on the couch, writhing in pain and discomfort. And I'm like, do you want a Tylenol? Do you want this? And he doesn't want any of it. And I'm like, okay, we'll take you to the doctor. You can go to the doctor, and it'll be a 3 or 4 week process. She'll give you some pills, and you'll have to get an MRI or however long it takes to get those appointments. But that wasn't good enough, and it's not going to solve it in the time that he needs. And I'm like, you got to start looking inside. Okay, we'll start the medical side just in case there's something there, but start working with the energy. You were perfectly fine, and the energy is just like off the charts right now. But his little boy was in fear. It's like, what am I going to die? What if this pain doesn't go away? And it'll get worse. It's like a circle that just keeps feeding on itself, and that pain will tighten. And guess what? That tightness that's already in there in the first place will get even stronger when you cringe up in fear, because all your blood vessels go like this, and your body's like, oh, this hurts. Well, the best thing you can do is get a massage and calm down, and get in the bathtub, and you move some energy and get the muscles all calmed down. And then that clamp that's holding all that pressure or the pain in your head relaxes off. And I really think it's a crown chakra that needs to be opened. There's a whole bunch of energy that needs to come out the top, crown and third eye. But right now, living in this world, how much is there to really live for right now in a lockdown situation where you can't go anywhere, you can't have fun, you can't go out and do anything that you consider free? So he lives in that. He's like, I go to school and do my one course because that's all he could handle, and sleeps a lot and feels negative. And I'm like, the only person that's going to drag you out of this hole is you. I can sit here and say, oh, by the way, let's try this. Let's go ahead and let's have fun or whatever. So he's kind of locked off from the world. And I think that's an energetic symptom. And it's okay. He's a beautiful being, and he's doing the work and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not ashamed or whatever, but it's a good perspective on fear. I had something very similar happen to me right before COVID started. I think it was the second week of February. I was laying in bed, and I don't know if it was 5G or other energies or whatever, but something shattered my energy field. I woke up in the middle of the night. I just felt like somebody had diced me like this across my energy field, and I was just sloughing off, and I couldn't breathe, and it was just terrified. My whole body was just like, and I had to consciously go inside and just breathe, like force myself to breathe, like, and then because I was so terrified, and I sat in that for 3 hours. And finally I got to the point where I went and had a salt bath, and I drank some salt water and other things that were helping. But I was in that pain for a week, like full body, like terrifying, like whatever pain. And I worked through that, and I got to the end of it, and I can honestly say I can survive anything now. I think there was like an energetic attack or whatever that happened. And I had to go through that to know that nothing can kill me unless I choose to finish, or the pain was too much or whatever. And by working through that, I just kind of transcended that possibility that energetic shattering could happen. This isn't intended to scare people. It's intended to be an exploration of the fear, because the fear, when your body feels pain, you can talk with some of these experts, like guys that jump in the ice water and their whole body's just screaming, but it's so good for your body, like the Wim Hof method and all this kind of stuff. And it's an exploration of your trigger, to go there and to feel it and to feel all that raw sensation, and then sit there and be able to control it and breathe through it, and not to follow the avalanche down the hill because you're going to die, but to sit there and say, okay, this is the sensation of pain. Why is it so? Okay, I can't breathe. So the next thing is, okay, start breathing, because your energetic mammalian reflex is going to do all this. Start breathing, and then you can feel present in that pain, and then eventually you're going to find out that pain is just sensation. It's just a feeling. It's the nerve triggers and the electricity flowing from all your cells of your body trying to tell you that something's off. The water's too cold, or the whatever. And then you rise above the pain. You start to see it as something else. It's just a sensation. And I'm not telling people to not go to the hospital if they're feeling pain or whatever, but sometimes that challenges by your body to show it, like rub your face in it and say, okay, here's what it really, really feels like. Can you handle this? And it's not as bad as you think in the end. And you just get to this point where you're not going to die. And you get up to that sensation, and it's like, okay, this is what maybe getting close to dying feels like, but it's not death, because your body's still alive and it's not as scary as it thinks. And then really for me, the first thing that you deal with when you deal with fear is to breathe, because fear instantly constricts us, and we'll pull back, or we'll be whatever, and just breathe. Get that chest open just for a second and take a deep breath. And then some of the panic goes away, because the first part of panic is not being able to breathe. And your body has this natural cycle that says when it's not getting enough oxygen, this energetic response to keep you alive. So feel that, and then start to breathe. And then when you're in fear with somebody else, they're yelling at you or whatever, if you step back, you're responding in fear. So you've now cut off and you've shrunk because you learned that as a child. Anya had some good stuff that we were talking about. You're bad. You're not good enough. No, don't touch that. Spank on the bum, whatever. That's our first instances of fear as a child. And we're programmed from that point onwards to be controlled by our fear. It's like, okay, I'm going to spank you on the bum. The mom's trying to protect you and you're not listening. I'll let Anya explain what she had earlier, but the energy of the mom is like, I'm mothering you really, really hard and I want to keep you safe. So I'm not going to let you touch that glass thing, and it might fall on the floor and it might cut your hand, or that hot plate or whatever. She's got an experience of fear that you're going to be hurt. She projects that energy onto you of fear that something bad's going on. And you don't even understand because you didn't experience the pain of touching the plate or whatever thing that she's worried about. And we get discombobulated as far as I'm concerned. You now get this energy, you get spanked, you get shoved in the corner or go to your room because of something that she was protecting you from and you didn't even get to experience.
Yeah.
So did you get to learn? So do you want to talk about your situation, Anya, or is that something you'd keep private?
No, I can talk about it. I think it was on Friday. Was it Friday? I don't remember. It was somewhere time over the weekend. My 2.5-year-old nephew was staying with me and my parents, and so my parents got to play grandma and grandpa, and my nephew triggers my mom because she has control and authoritarian issues. And so I'm watching this dynamic play out, and the more she reacts, the more he continues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if you keep giving attention to negative behavior, it's just gonna increase. So I'm watching this mature woman play out this very old program with this 2.5-year-old. And the first time she just smacks him like lightly. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? And like he got smacked. So like he clocks her with it was a wooden toy. It's a matryoshka, if you're familiar with that. It's a Russian doll. It was a big wooden Russian doll that he clocked her like right here.
Those ones where like the dolls come out, there's like
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. And so she got clocked. So she after that she had it. She wilded out on him and she's like, you need to go to the corner and like have a punishment for 5 minutes. She started yelling at him. Like her rage was like fully on this 2.5-year-old. And I feel like that is the scariest thing to experience. This rage, this fear from this adult projected onto you. You don't know what that is. You don't, whatever. So he started crying hysterically and he was facing the corner. That was his punishment. He's just bawling. And she's wilding out and I'm just observing everything, and I could only handle it for 2 minutes, and she's telling me don't intervene, he needs to learn a lesson. And I'm like, this isn't how you fucking do it, there needs to be a better way. And like I just take him out of the corner and I'm like calming him down. His body is like shaking, and so I just like help distract him. He likes lights, so we were playing with the lights, and he's just like calming his body down, and I'm just like holding my hand on his body.
So what experience did he actually have in that? Fear? He felt a rage projected at him that wasn't even his. Control,
and I think judgment for his behavior. So it's like I've seen him before where he'll like hit himself if he makes a mistake.
Well,
and I'm like, that's how it starts.
Well. Yeah, exactly. But did he actually learn that hitting a wooden doll on mom or grandma's face was it? Because that was a complete overreaction, right? Like maybe like you and I were talking, it's like maybe grandma should take the doll and bump him on the side of the face as well.
Yeah.
Like, did that feel good?
Yeah.
Because then you're going to know cause and effect, right? But this is way off of cause and effect.
Yeah.
The monster comes out of rage because nobody knows what was going on in the moment.
Yeah, and so these scary energies, and like you don't know how to transmute them as a 2-year-old. You just store them.
So what do you think your mother was playing out in that moment?
I don't know. She was playing out her own
wounding as a child.
Cycle. Yeah, it's like a generational thing. So it's just like, that's how we did it. That's how I got it. So I'm going to do what I know.
And did it work for you as her child?
Oh, it worked for me, but look at me. It took me 30 years to undo it.
And how many of us can say that exact same thing happened? We got spanked on the bum. We got put in the corner. We got yelled at. We got told you can't have that. You can't do that. You can't. How many times did you get enabled by your parents versus disabled? Most of the time disabled, right?
Yeah. And then it's like you lose your freedom of your sense of self. You're like, this isn't safe anymore. I have to be fearful instead of fearless.
Because they're teaching you obedience, right? Like
it's like
the reason why you should or shouldn't do something. Just follow. Just do what you're told. Sorry.
I was just gonna say like I watch him and he has so much fearlessness. Like he is fully authentically himself, and like I could see how it gets stripped away by these kinds of encounters.
Cool. So look at how some of this even plays out in COVID right now.
Oh God.
You have to be compliant. You have to listen. You have to follow the rules. You have to do what mommy, which is government or WHO or whatever, says is the safe thing that people do in this situation. And we're just trying to be obedient again, right? And look at how much of your childhood. So people need to understand, all parents do this. There's a few that have different perspectives or whatever, but this is a pattern that's replaying through all the generations. Way back in big farm families, when there was 15 kids, you couldn't all talk at the time or nobody be able to be heard or whatever. Some of these things just keep replaying, and now we've got smaller and smaller families. It might be one child or three children. So it's not a judgment on the people that are doing it or saying that there's bad. They just didn't know any better. And we're moving into a new place where, can you imagine how much of your possibility of you as a human being has been limited by the behavior of your parents, and they're saying no and forcing you to be obedient to money and marriage and all these things that supposedly made their life perfect? I don't think anybody's life was perfect. They just made do with the energies and how it worked. So look where the basis of fear comes. So you're walking around as a little toddler and going to go touch something that looks really nice, or you're going to go put that piece of candy off the floor in your mouth, and it's all of a sudden no, and your hand is slapped and there's pain, and you're just like, all I wanted to do was touch it. And then you continue on and you walk around some more and you're going to touch the statue, and it's like no. And it's like, no, you don't do that. And you don't understand. You don't understand the words. All you know is the hit, the shout, that shock, because it's just like an aftershock that goes through your body. And then can you see how you're training your child to be compliant to what you need? And is that what's best for the child? No, that's what's best for you. And how much of that is actually you protecting the child? Don't touch that because it's glass and it might hurt you. Don't touch that. That's the stove. It might hurt you. But we never get that feedback. They may say the words, but at 2, do they really understand the words, or they're just barely? So look at how that root of fear is embedded in you by the most trusted people in your life, your mom and dad, from the moment you're born. So in a lot of ways, you don't have a chance against that fear. You're just programmed with it because they were programmed with it. And they passed it down, and they did it successfully, and they did a good job as parents, because that's what good parents do. So nobody's bad in this, but I know both of you, including me, are going to say we've had to go look at that and reparent ourselves around so many of the things that we're told to be bad. And it wasn't because we were wrong. We had to go make a decision now as an adult instead, because as a child, it got inserted at you, whether you liked it or not, because they knew better and they were adults and just stopped conflicting with me. But now you're making choices. You went against your mother, Anya, because you knew there was a better way. And that young light needed maybe a different perspective.
Yeah.
Can't protect him all the time. So now he's at least got a disparity that he can look at and say, holy cow, grandma was really angry. But look at Anya. I did the same thing and she was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So then it gets really complicated. Have we helped them? Because he'll go back into your sister's mothering, because that's her mother, his mother. And what does she replay from your mother? So you can't solve all of it. All you can do is start to say that there's a choice in the energy, and show there's new energy perspectives. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think my mom, grandma, is the only one that has done this to him. Like everyone else is like.
Well, and then even look at you as a mother and her as a mother. You grew out of it because you didn't like it. And how many of us say, I'm not going to be my parents in the way I treat my kids? And I see it all the time. It's like spank or make bad or whatever, because that's what my dad did. And that was the best way. He was a farm boy, and you got spanked when you did wrong, and you knew damn well you did wrong, and you couldn't sit in your butt for a couple of days. Well, does that solve it for kids? No. They become compliant. And then we sit in a society, in a world where everybody's screaming about being compliant and trusting the mommy and daddy figures, which is government, is health organizations, is all these, and they've used it perfectly to control us now, and saying, okay, well, you're a bad little girl or a boy when you don't wear your mask, and somebody's going to come and spank you or whatever. But no, they yell and scream at you with their words because you're not compliant.
Patrick, say something.
If I got to be compliant, you got to be compliant, and you got to be compliant, because you make me feel unsafe, and you're going to make me sick, just like you said, Patrick. Your grandma had it, so really, you're not a fear to her anymore. But
well, exactly. But they're running that program that each mask, you wear the mask to protect other people. which in itself is dangerous. So they've accepted that everybody is a potential danger in your life. So if they want to come near you, they have to wear this mask and all these other things in case there's something bad that they have. Like fear is it's brought up to a whole new level. It's ingrained everywhere now. Whenever I go into the stores, because in the small towns they don't like to respect medical exemptions, so I will wear the mask in the store. I have a custom one that basically says that this is useless. But as soon as I pay, it's off and in my pocket, and I walk out the store, and everybody's giving me dirty looks. Like, what is this guy doing? Why they think I'm that's where I'm the villain in everybody, because I'm in there endangering all their lives because I might have this terrible virus and I'm going to be causing all these problems simply because I'm choosing to live free and without fear and have no concern for the invisible boogeyman that 70% of the world is afraid of.
But they're afraid you're going to make them sick instead of the other way around, which should be whether or not you're afraid if you're going to get sick yourself. They're already wearing a mask to protect themselves. So the fear
is exactly like if you want to be afraid, then you protect yourselves. I don't like how they forced this on everybody. Like, I loved when all this stuff started happening. I think it was like Sweden or one of those other countries where they did the proper thing, where they took the sick and the dying and the senior people that were in danger of getting all these diseases and having bad things happen, and isolating them, but still allowing the rest of the healthy people to still go about their lives and do everything. And they didn't have incredible death counts. There was no horrible thing like we're taught to believe would happen if we accepted that. Like
Japan,
there's so many there's so many contradictions and stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. People will go from saying no masks, like that Fauci guy, and he even wrote a paper about the dangers of all the extra things that the masks caused when they did that in the Spanish flu in the early 1900s. But then he came out and, no, it's okay. They're actually good. Like, he changed his mind. Like, okay, you were against this at one point, but now you're not. Like, and that's why it's all just a program. It's all, he's just a puppet. He's doing what he's told. He's not this altruistic person. He's trying to make the world a better place. He's just doing what he's told because he wants to keep his power and his money and his status and place in society, like a lot of them do.
He's lying because he said one thing in a paper that's been published, and then you're not even integral in your own published information. So how can you trust a person like that?
Right.
They go with the money.
Well, exactly. And then there's all kinds of doctors that believe different. They call them the wife coats or whatever. They do all these videos on Capitol Hill and stuff. Facebook and YouTube, and everybody keeps taking them off. And these are actual practicing medical doctors, and they're all saying different. They're going against the narrative that we're all supposed to taught to believe, but they're bad and they're censoring. They're doctors. Like, oh my God, but people don't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, nobody puts it on the news. It's all against what the agenda is and this other stuff. It makes no sense. Once people are going to see the truth and what's been going on around behind, we're going to see that the news media is owned by like 3 or 4 people, and they can't even, no matter if they're truthful people, as the reporters, they have to do what is told from their command. Otherwise they lose their job, and then everybody's afraid. Same thing, more fear.
Yeah.
And how much, when you listen to the news, is about positive things. There's like a little puffy piece, and it's like Iran invaded North Korea today, and their nuclear holocaust is going to happen, and that's all you hear over and over and over. And even the cadence of the announcers and the way they present everything is all just bang, 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 bang on your energy field. Listen to it. Just turn on your news. I know a lot of people like the news. Turn on the news and just watch from the other room. Don't get involved in it. Just feel how it feels. Feel the energy. Feel how they're over and over and over again. And there's nothing positive in it. It's like this world bad and harsh, and tax rates are going up, and this, and more COVID cases, and you're just bombarded. If your world didn't have enough stuff going on in it, where you got to worry about your money and paying your bills and your job and all this kind of stuff, you get the whole weight of the world put on you every night.
Yeah.
That
And
healthy?
like it's crazy to think like for my parents, the first thing they do when they wake up is turn on the news. So it's like by 9 in the morning, you're hearing about like 5 murder cases about some teenager.
Mhm,
I'm like, that's how you start your morning.
mhm.
Hmm.
And that's why I haven't listened to the news for almost 10 years now.
Yeah, no bueno.
Even TV, the commercials in between. Did you know that TV commercials have went from like 10 minutes over the course of a show to over 20 now? For TV stations that you pay through a cable program, and then they get paid by the advertisers. And now we're like bombarded every 10 minutes by some other agenda that's got neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, all this stuff, because we're going to sleep almost while we're watching our show.
Yeah.
And then it goes straight into our brain. And it's like, I got to get Viagra. I got to get it. Oh, and my dog needs some kibbles and bits or
Fucking
whatever.
some mittens.
Yeah. And
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, like for CNN, and the only reason I know this is because my parents are avid CNN watchers, is like the commercials in between will be like these pills, these crazy ass pills that they'll just like, even for depression, you got depression, like take this pill, you might fucking die and vomit, but take it anyway.
But do you notice that the
Well, and
videos for
that's the hilarious part is all the side effects of these pills, right? You may
Yeah.
die, you may have this, you may have internal bleeding, all these things. Like, oh my God! So I'm gonna Band-Aid fix one thing, but then I'm gonna maybe create all these other problems.
Absolutely.
Which again, because it's a drug and it's a pharmacy, it's just a Band-Aid. It doesn't actually deal with the root of why you're feeling or experiencing whatever your issue is. It just covers the symptom. Like,
and and
it's just bonkers.
The whole ad isn't even about the symptom or the thing that you're getting. It's like a bunch of people frolicking on the beach, and they're talking about Cialis or whatever, inferring that something else is happening. And then the list of symptoms is like half the commercial. Oh, you may have this and difficulty breathing, and in some instances death can occur. And you're getting this all day long, and you go to the doctor and get the damn thing, even though death's one of the possibilities.
Kind of like the vaccine.
My
right,
bones
exactly.
ache, but I could die now instead because it's arthritis or it's gallbladder symptom. Ugh.
Well, so, and you can't tell certain people. Like, I have my stepbrother who's really into 4D, and he's all into the conspiracy. He's at the beginning of his awakening and going through all this stuff. And he sent me this. He was talking about how, I guess, one of the types of jabs is banned in a whole bunch of countries around the world. And he sent it to my parents or whatever, and they just ignored it, like, because it means nothing to them. Like, they trust what's on the news, and they're in that certain vibration. It is what it is. Like, they're not interested in a different narrative because it doesn't match their vibration, right? That's why we can't wake up and change people. We have to learn to respect our vibration and just live and speak our truth. And as I spoke earlier, when you're doing that from a higher vibration, you will change and affect the people around you, just not in a direct way.
Yeah.
So extend that just for a second, Anya. Comment on how fear makes that happen, and then how it unloaded by your alternate perspective. Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
Well, like, they're in that vibration, you're saying. So fear.
Oh yeah. Well, they feel, because they're in that vibration of fear, and they're just following. They're just running the programs because they're still plugged into the matrix, right? So the matrix tells them that you need this and you need this and you need this. All those things have a certain vibration which is similar to them, but because our vibration is differently, we'll look at them and Anya watches CNN when her parents are on, you probably laugh at all the crap that's on there, and and your parents, because they are in vibrational alignment with that, it's like, oh my God, I gotta be afraid of this, I gotta be afraid of that. And the rest of us are just like, I'm not afraid of shit. Like, okay, you guys want to do that? That's fine. I'm just going to be going. I'll walk through this neighborhood where they say all this happening, because I know it's not going to happen. I have a different vibration, and I created my reality. Like,
but the story is what they become embroiled in, and you may not have even had that physically happen in any way, shape, or form close to your proximity, and literally this other something in North Korea is affecting you and you can't do anything about it. Where you're getting in the present, you're seeing what's showing up by walking down the street. Anya's seeing hawks and crows playing with each other and all these things. So we get so far out of ourselves and so far out of our body and our real experience, feeling this density of everything else, we lose ourselves and we get crunched with stuff that's not even physically happening close to you.
Yes.
Well, and you're bringing in similar vibrations of those things because of the law of attraction, right? So if you're going to be in fear all the time and you're going to keep that vibration, you may not bring murderers and things to your house, but you're going to bring other things of a similar vibration into you because you're afraid of it and you don't want it to happen. You're pulling it towards you because that's the energy you're putting out into the world.
Do you know what the thing Citizens on Patrol is? That's where the public helps out the police and they walk around. My dad joined it because he's retired, and probably 50% more crime happens to him now because he's aware it's possible and he sees it in everybody else's experience. So now gas is stolen out of his truck and all these things are happening. And I'm like, holy shit, there's exactly that, right? It's like now possible in my world because I saw it across town. And now he's drawn that vibration in. Not that he's bad or anything's wrong with that. It's just now the possibility is there. And look at what the world is. Go ahead.
It's the possibility, and maybe nothing will happen to you, but those suffering thoughts are enough to do that damage, even if it is imagination. Yeah, even if it's all imagined. There could be nothing. Let's say, like, you think about that stealing thing and nothing's ever been stolen from you, but just having those thoughts plague you is enough to put you in that like suffering state. That's terrible. Going to the news thing really quickly. My parents like to state facts from the news, and I'll be like, but how do you know? And they're like, I read it on the news, but I'm like, but how do you know? Yeah. Like homelessness is a big situation in Los Angeles. Like there's overpasses where you'll see a bunch of tents lined up. And one of my parents stated, like, can you believe that the homeless people didn't want to go into a shelter in place when they were offered these motels to stay in for free? And I was like, how do you know that? And they're like, the news article said that. But I was like, but how do you know that? Like, I need to know all of the facts. Like, I need to talk to these homeless people. Like, I can't just go about what the news wrote on an article.
Well, those hotel rooms could have been filled with black mold or just filthy carpets and bed bugs on the mattresses and shit like that, where they got something that they put together and is safe and they're living free in that moment and they're living outside the system, right?
Yeah.
The minute you get in the system and you have a hotel room and you got to pay a power bill and you got to go get groceries and cable and TV, that's a control system, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make everybody happy. There's tons of people that are happy living under a bridge and going for scraps or whatever, because a lot of the system has let them fall out the bottom because they didn't want to be controlled. They didn't want to pay bills. They went bankrupt, whatever. That just destroys you as a being. Your choice doesn't matter anymore. It's like, you got to pay this bill and you got to have a car and you got to have insurance and you got to pay gas and you got to blah, 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 blah. And it's just like everything has a hook in it. So what we're doing is we're living within that system, living with all that fear and those pulls on us, and we're transcending that. People might not understand this, but by living in the possibility of better, of living in, I can live without having to have a job specifically, or I can live without having to have a house specifically. You guys have found exact ways to do that. Parents are supporting us and all this kind of stuff, but it's giving you time to examine yourself. It's giving you time to really unwind those control hooks, and you'll be different people from this point onwards. That's magic. And
all the extra childhood trauma and all the other things that we're dealing, and we're enforcing our boundaries and learning to speak our truths and staying silent when we choose to, and indeed.
People would never understand this, but when I was running a business and I was working 8-10 hours a day, it was a small business. And I started taking more time for myself to meditate, and I worked less, and I took the first 2 hours off in the morning, and more money showed up than showed up when I was working hard. And I started to expand into this, and it's like, I need to take more time for myself. And when things didn't feel good, and then bigger projects would show up with lower amounts of time, and the universe is all just trying to gently guide me back to that. Some people get ejected from their job and they think, oh, everything's fallen apart. And then something new will show up when you kind of start to trust. But when you're in fear and when you're in all that anger and scared and all that kind of stuff, you assume the worst immediately, and you don't open the possibility of something better, or that maybe money's going to show up. Maybe you get an inheritance, maybe some long lost, whatever. I don't want to put all these things in that are fake-o, but sometimes it's just like, wow, I didn't know I had that much money in my bank account or whatever. It's enough to cover the bills this month. And oh, there's another account that I haven't used for a while. And poof, all of a sudden the bill's covered. And it's not about being rich and wealthy and having the best new cars and all this kind of stuff. It's about getting underneath all of this. And then those things start to show up in magical ways that people won't understand. But now you have the possibility of abundance. Now you have the possibility of self-love. Now you have, once you've taken out all that parental, you're not good enough, you're bad, or whatever. Can you imagine how that is on your self-love? Can you even love yourself at that point? Because you got whacked all the time, and the parents' intention was not that, but you just were bad over and over and over and over again, and you didn't know why. So then you're like, I'm not worthy of love because I keep doing all these bad things. I can't figure it out before it happens. I keep saying things wrong. How many times does that happen? Even now, we're meant to blame ourselves. When I got to the end of the discussion with my son, all he came back with was, like you said, I've given up. And I'm like, I never said that. Have I ever told you that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, or whatever? But somewhere in the words, his brain translated it to, you've given up. I might have said, it feels like you've given up. But all he heard was, I've given up. And he just destroyed himself right there. No, you didn't give up. You're working here right beside. How many times does that happen where you wanted something and you gave up because parents said no?
Mm-hmm.
So people, what I want them to comprehend is that fear is completely embroiled in the human experience. It's underneath everything that we haven't done good enough. We haven't even talked about things like past life energies, epigenetic energies that are coming through your lineage, where that fear is emblazoned into us. Like your parents lived through the Holocaust or something, and you were Jewish, and that fear of the Nazis coming again or taking you from your house and killing you is embroiled in your genetics now, and you have no idea it's even there. To have a job and be with a boss. How many controlling bosses have you had that they're like, you do this and you do that, and you don't have any freedom, and your vacation is when I say you can, and all this kind of stuff, because they're in their little control things and they use fear. It's like, you have to let you go if you don't smarten up. They just play on those patterns that our parents gave us. Or look at some of these employers where they overwork you. Like they say, oh, you got to get this whole restroom cleaned in 15 minutes and there's like 15 stalls. Can you clean a restroom in a minute a stall? Probably not. But if they keep putting that fear and that pressure on you that you're going to lose your job, you'll do whatever the hell you can, and then you're exhausted and nobody wins.
I used to use fear with designing, and I would get good results, but I would have to go through this struggle process to get to the end. And it was fucking taxing.
Mm-hmm.
And
so like a deadline fear, or what was the fear that you forced yourself?
it's like a deadline fear, but it's like, those, you're not going to be good enough if you don't make this way type fear, like, or this accomplishment outcome type fear, or like you won't make it.
You won't get promoted. You won't be seen.
All of those.
Yep.
Yeah. And they worked like a charm. Like I put blood, sweat, and tears, and it got me this far, but it started taking its toll. And like, it's like, no, there has to be another way. It's the same as an artist, the artists that abuse narcotics or like keep going into tumultuous relationships because they use it for the art. Like, who am I going to be without this? Or comedians, they do it with depression. Like, who am I going to be if I don't have this depression? It's like the same thing.
It's a bypassing thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, who was it? Robin Williams, right? One of the best comedians ever or whatever. And he died because he didn't think anybody liked him or all this fear underneath. And he was bypassing all the time by all this humor. And nobody understood him. And then they get to the end and he's like, he's the happiest guy in the world. And he was dying inside. That's what fear will do to you. So understand there's hope and that fear does not stand the test of awareness or shining light into it. But love and shining light, talking about it, making other people aware maybe of what you're fearing, or at least being honest with yourself that something's wrong, is the first step.
I was just about to ask both of you guys, like, how do you clear fear if you come across it?
No? Do you want to start, Patrick? I can talk.
Sure, yeah. When I have that in there, I just remind myself that it's old programming, and I just have to concentrate and clear out those energies from me and raise my vibration up. Because one thing that I've realized as you go through ascensions, you're not eliminating fears. You're not getting rid of and conquering and taking all those negative energy, anger, all that stuff. You're not taking it out of your life. It's still there, but you're raising your vibration up so that you're operating up here while all this stuff is down there. So if you let go of your energetic practices and you don't do your cord cutting, you don't do your grounding, you don't do whatever, and you allow yourself to just go down, and you'll notice you'll start feeling all these things again. You're like, why? What's going on here? Well, no, you just have to clear your energies and raise it back up, and you don't feel and experience that stuff anymore. That's all it is. It's all about you choosing what vibration you want to be in. If you want to choose love over fear, it's about taking ownership of your life, right? So
can you explain what the vibration feels like and how you feel it? Because you're saying things that might be foreign to some people.
Yeah, I mean, when I lower my vibration, I don't feel it right away. It kind of slowly goes on, just like weights on your shoulder, weights on your shoulder, weights on your shoulder. And then if I'll go and I'll do cord cutting, I'll ground outside, like I'll walk barefoot on the grass, or I'll meditate and just consciously get rid of or clear the vibrations from my energy, and then everything rises back up because I've done all the inner work. So my vibration naturally will float back up into the fifth density mindset. So if I let myself pull down, all you got to do is a little bit of energetic cleaning, and it's going to float back up because I've already done all the fun work where you drive yourself crazy in your face and you conquer all those fears. And that's all you need to do. Just know that it's part of you, and just send it love and don't attach to it. Just
and I
know that it's.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to say having the light shine on your face standing outside, is that feel like love?
Oh, absolutely. Because especially from the sun, because the sun is a direct energy connection to source, right? Like from my understanding, the energy comes from source, and then it goes from like the central sun in the universe, goes from the central sun in our galaxy, and then the central sun in our little sector, and then goes to the one in the Pleiades, and then it comes to the Earth, and then it comes to us and our planet. So connecting to the sun, just sitting there and feeling it, it can just melt everything away. And especially if you're standing barefoot on the ground, connecting to the earth as well, and everything just flows, and it's just so good. And if you can get to the point where you push yourself to that 0 point state is basically when you meditate enough, you get your mind to that place where there's no random thoughts, and you're just kind of in this empty, blank, floaty space. I've actually felt like I was going to just kind of float off the ground. Like I almost feel weightless and stuff. It's amazing. And that's just from being quiet, connecting to the sun and the earth, and letting the energies just flow through you. So, and
that's what I would call a state of being, just absolutely being, not doing, not chasing, not anything, just being is in that void, feeling that sunlight on your face. If you don't have the sunlight, the ground, like Patrick's talked about this before, right, is feel the sunlight on your face and get your feet in and your toes in the grass if you can, if it's not too cold or whatever. That will now take the density out of your body. You'll start to ground and you'll be in your body. Because when we are in fear, we're like 3 feet above our head in our energy because it feels bad. It feels painful. The minute you see that sun, that's why we call it love and light. Love and light are very similar. It's like when somebody's in love, they're beaming, they're shining, there's light coming out of their eyes and their mouth and their whatever. If you can't find that for yourself yet, you just go look at the sun. You go sit there and close your eyes and feel the beam on your face. And then you're going to feel this higher vibration, this love, this freeness. And then let the bad stuff go out your feet in the ground. And then all of a sudden you get a reset state. And it takes training. This is months and months. This is going to happen dozens of times.
Long time. Takes a while.
And the more you just keep going back to that reset space or making an anchor. When I work with clients, go out and feel the sun energy. And then you basically just do something that you don't normally do with your fingers, like put all 3 fingers together. And then you say, I anchor this feeling in my body. And whenever I touch these fingers and you test it 3 times, then I will feel that. And then you can make this little hook that pulls you back to that state just by doing this thing. Okay, I'm going to put my 3 fingers, close my eyes and ground for a second. And then you go right back. When now you don't need the sun because you have that little tool. The life of awakening and enlightenment. Most people say enlightenment and awakening are the same thing, but look at enlightenment, using the sun to shine into you and make you feel more light. Releasing the density. So you're lighter physically and you're also lighter. People say, geez, your eyes shine with light. And when you get excited, your passion just shines out. That's love. That's self-love. That's choosing to see a perspective of something that could be bad as something, oh, I'm learning from this. Holy shit, this is hard, but it's going to teach me a boundary that I don't have, or that I don't have self-love, like that thing with that woman. We're going back to light every time. And that's what clearing the fear is, enlightening ourselves, clearing the darkness. Guess what? When you think you're bad and this thing's not good and your rage is bad, you put it in the darkness. Well, I'm going to tell you, all your power is in your darkness, whether you realize it or not, because that's what society has forced us there. And until you go to that journey and you look at all that darkness stuff and bring it out of fear and darkness and into light, rage is a magnificent one that most people judge and say, my rage is scary, I'm going to kill someone or whatever, and it hides down here and I want to get rid of my rage and I hate it and it's down in your pelvis somewhere. Rage can be the most beautiful light. I can sit in absolute rage and say, you will not fuck with me. There's light coming out of my eyes. It's not darkness. But I've chosen that because my rage is my power. It's my warrior. It's my balance. If I'm over here and I'm just a good little girl, good little boy, and I'm and all this kind of stuff, and you don't acknowledge that there's a angry, seething mass here that wants to hurt somebody because they just hurt them, doesn't mean you have to be that person. You bring the two together and say, no, you're not going to do that to me ever again. And they know damn well they're like, why is he so calm? Because that's us. Once it's all fully in your body, it's not fear anymore. It's not darkness. I can look in any cage in my dungeon, go down and look at all the dragons, and they're all my best friends now because I had to make friends with them. They're part of me. And that's where the fear closes us off. It puts us in the dungeon. And then there's only like 20% of us over here that's actually living. That 80% is down below the surface, all been judged bad. Your mother and dad said you can't do it, you can't be it, you can't blah. So that's really what fear is. And it has a real dire hold on us. How many people, when they close their eyes and they lay down to go to sleep, their heart is just pounding and they don't know why it's pounding? And you have this tightness in your body you're not even aware of. That's the fear. That's the fight or flight. That's what you're sitting in all day long, just waiting for that car accident to hit you from behind because you didn't expect it, or somebody to say you got to pay this extra bill or you're not going to have enough money. Or that happens. And we just sit in a state of fear all the time. And it doesn't have to be that way. We found a way. I'm not saying we're expert at it or whatever, but we had to walk through every bit of that slimy shit to make
we drained our own swamp and found our light. So
absolutely. So we're almost at our hour and a half that we normally go. So any closing remarks from either of you two?
Just don't judge yourself with the fear. Know that it's part of the program, and you can, if you choose to, replace it with love. That love is the opposite spectrum of fear, and if that's what you want to be, just choose to do it. And like anything else, when you had to spend 10 years grinding through your chosen career path to find success, and it's the same thing as with ascension. Just keep facing your emotions, keep loving yourself, keep forgiving yourself. You will get to the point where you're just like, everything's great and living in the clouds, and even if something bad happens, it's like, whatever, it's all serving you, so why get mad? In certain situations, when you're living in the flow, certain emotions come out, you don't judge it. It is what it is, and everything's just awesome. Like, it's a much more freeing way to live. I mean, most of us are all still, it's harder dealing with all these lockdowns, being all these energetic, sovereign, independent beings, yet we're still can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this, like all these limitations, because we're all in a shared collective of insanity, and it's extremely frustrating. But again, that's more tests. So just let it all go and just be, and know it'll happen. We're here to help them, and you can't allow your feelings to, oh, well, it's all their fault. Well, no, they're you. We're all one. It's all connected, right?
So to extend from that, would you say love will set you free?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love is who you are at your core. We're all sparks of source, and source is all love. So that's who we are.
And it's not having someone love you. It's not having a relationship. It's not loving your children. It's loving you, and only you first. And then you can be all those things to everybody else afterwards, because we're lost in pleasing. So
right, exactly. You can go out and find those things and do the things that you want to do, not because you need them, but because you desire them, right?
You love them, and it's fun, and it's playful. And
exactly. I can't wait for this lockdown, and I want to go out and play so bad. It's crazy. Like,
thankfully, you've got a dog.
Yes, I do. And I'm going to be moving to a new, more social place. So who knows who I'll meet there. So it should be fun.
Cool. And Anya?
I don't have anything to say.
She's got her comfort blanket. She's in heal mode. So.
Yeah.
Well, so essentially, love will set you free is the most important thing that we can say. And love is not turn the other cheek and let people do bad things to you, shut yourself down, just be that nice person and always it'll work out as long as I'm good or whatever. Love is really strong boundaries sometimes, like, thank you, but no thank you. I'm not going to participate this time because I participated the last 5 times and you've never helped me before. And you don't have to say it that way. It's just like, no. And then you're loving yourself, and then you feel good about it, and you go, and it's like, holy fuck, I got my whole weekend back because I'm not helping this guy move for the 3rd time because I was so good about it and he never helped me when I needed to move. That's crazy. That's love. Love is choosing time for yourself, even when you got your children. Let them go play in the corner, and it's not like you got to teach them the alphabet and do all that kind of stuff. Just, this is mommy's or daddy's hour to go and relax and watch their favorite show or breathe or just go for a walk.
If you want to be one of these people that goes and suns their butthole, which is apparently the new phase going through the Ascension community, you can do that too. So
what is it?
All these things are going through. They're talking about how you get the energy if you stand up and put your butt up towards the sun and get sun directly on it. It's supposed to be good for you. And I just laugh at it. It's funny. It's not my thing, but
it's a vitamin D supplement, and it's supposed to work way faster down there.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I'll send you the link, Anya.
Wonderful. Can't wait.
I wouldn't want to get a sunburn down there, but
Oh yeah, imagine.
that could be a little
man.
uncomfortable. But
Oh, that's funny.
so just keep choosing you, and it's not selfish. Selfish is a really overused word, but if you're not serving you, no one else will serve you, is what most of us have found out. We give and give and give, and we never get back because a lot of people just really like receiving. So start choosing in every moment, everything, and just keep remembering that that love is within you. It might have died on the vine when you were a child and you didn't think you could love. You didn't think you were connected to source. You didn't think all those things were there. But now's a choice. We as adults, we're really unhappy. We're all uncomfortable. We're in a world where things are going. Why do we smile? Why do we laugh? Why do we, these three people on this video, I wouldn't say it's a secret, but we walked this path, we found this way, and it was only by choosing ourselves every time that we can shine out our light. We looked at our darkness, we balanced everything. We learned how to control our energies, our triggers, self-mastery. You don't have to be perfect at it, but you start doing a few things and the universe will start bringing you stuff endlessly that shows that you've made progress and it's better, and new people, new relationships, new money, all this kind of stuff, because it's really our choice. We came to this planet, we came to have this experience, and it was kind of messy. We got beat down, and now we're...
But it's so worth it. I would not want to be anywhere else. As crazy as it is, I love this place because there's no other planet in existence, from my knowledge, that you can have so many varied extremes and all the different parts of the polarity and duality scales. It's accumulation of everything. It's awesome. This planet is amazing.
And as always, if there's questions or none of that makes sense, or you think we're full of shit or whatever, just make a comment in the in the thing. And we're also looking for new episodes, new topics, it's pretty...
Yeah, if there's anything you want us to talk about, put it in the comments and we'll talk about it for you one day.
So we love doing this. It just flows and beautiful stuff happens. And it's meant to wake you up and shake you a little bit. And maybe you hate us sometimes and maybe it's scary or whatever, but it's all part of the process. And I hope you can feel it's coming from our hearts, and join us. We love it. So every Monday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain, which is GMT -7. So join
5
us.
p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Pacific.
Cool. And we're going to put it on a podcast here before too long. I'll strip the audio out and we'll have it as an Apple iTunes podcast before long. So I'm working on that too. So
thank you.
Love to see you all. Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody. Love you.
Love and light to you, and see you soon.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.